Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 14.7 Beta 3 was released to developers and hopefully soon to public beta testers. Apple never released a Beta 2 to public beta testers due to an eSIM issue. And so this particular version was released, hopefully along with Public Beta 3, or maybe they'll just use Public Beta 2 as the name. Now, this particular update varies from device to device, but on my iPhone XR, it came in at 351.2 megabytes, and on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, it came in at 4.57 gigabytes. It just depends on the version you're actually coming from, so it can vary from device to device. Now, I have Beta 3 on the iPhone 7 as well, and also Apple released iPadOS 14.7 Beta 3 that I have on the iPad Air 2 right here, as well as watchOS 7.6 Beta 3, tvOS 14.7 Beta 3, and macOS 11.5 Beta 3. Now, for those of you wondering about iOS 15 Beta 2, I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Now, along with all of those updates, Apple also released updates for older devices, iOS 12.5.4 for iPhone 6 and older that can support iOS 12, for example. It has 3 important security updates in it, so that's available as well. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go Home, then we'll go to Settings, then we'll go to General, then About, and the build number is 18G5042C. And this particular update not being an A at the end means we'll probably have another update or release candidate after that before we see a final version. So Apple will continue to release iOS 14 updates until September, when iOS 15 will release to the public. Now, as far as the first new thing in this update, well, if you have a newer iPhone, you'll have a modem update. So it's a slight modem update on the iPhone 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, 12 and 12 mini, and you may have one on older devices as well, but there is a new modem update in this. And as far as new features, well, there's a few new things in this. As we're getting iOS 15 in a few months, don't expect any major changes, but there's a few refinements in this, specifically in podcasts. So if we go into podcasts, and I have the iPhone XR on the older beta here, so we can take a look at that as well. And under podcasts, if we tap on library at the bottom, then tap on shows, go back here, tap on shows. Under shows, you can see it looks pretty much the same. But if I tap on edit, then edit shows. Under edit shows, maybe I tap the minus to get rid of one, and you'll see the wording is a little bit different. On the newer beta, it says keep saved episodes and unfollow and remove all. Prior to this, it would just say unfollow. So that's a small change, but it is a little bit different. So that has been updated as well. And then also, if I tap on cancel, we'll go back. And then on the top, you might notice it's a little bit different as well, where it says followed and all. So if you unfollow one, so maybe this one in particular, you'll see it says follow. If you unfollow it, it doesn't disappear from your list, but rather will show up under all. If I go back to followed, it disappears. Go back to all, it comes back. So maybe you don't want to follow someone, but occasionally you want to see some podcasts that you were listening to before. You'll now have that option, and they've updated that in podcasts. Now, also, some people were saying, why doesn't Apple's podcast app have a playback speed? It actually does. If you tap on the episode in the bottom left, there's a 1x, 1.5x, 2x, half x, or half speed. So you have all of those options, 1 speed, 1.5, 2, and half speed. So they're there as well. So if you were looking for that, that's where they are. Now, as far as anything else new, well, there's nothing else that seems obvious as far as new features or any changes. So there's nothing really obvious there, but there is those few changes. However, as far as bugs and resolved issues, well, this one better have the eSIM problem fixed or the SIM card error fixed that people were getting with Beta 2, and that's why we never saw a public beta. So along with this, I'm sure they fixed that. However, they said in their notes that there are no new release notes for this beta software update. So they haven't mentioned anything, whether that be the SIM card error, which I would imagine they'd fix since you want to be able to use this with your SIM card, as well as green tint or any other issues. I haven't heard a whole lot of information back on iOS 14.7 or 15 with green tint as to whether or not it's been fixed. Most people say nothing about it, so that leads me to believe it's probably fixed for the majority of people, as quite a few people were very vocal about it before. So now people aren't really saying a whole lot. That means if it is happening, whether you're on a dark screen, you're in settings, maybe the brightness is down, and you have a green fringe around the outside edge, hopefully that's gone, but we won't know until people use this for a few days. So hopefully that's gone. Let me know in the comments below. As far as overall battery life, well, the battery life does take a few days to measure, but I can show you the previous beta on a different phone. Now, if we go over to my iPhone that's running iOS 15, I can show you because I've only been running this for about a week and it keeps up to 10 days. So I can show you a couple days of battery life on beta 2. So if we go to settings, go down to battery, and then go to, well, we'll check battery health. You'll see I'm at 100% still. In the last 10 days, if we go back to these 2 days, you can see this is where I was running beta 2, and it varies depending on the day. So on last Saturday, before beta 1, or 2 Saturdays ago, before beta 1 of iOS 15 was installed on this, I had 2 hours and 41 minutes of screen on time, 2 hours and 53 minutes of screen off time, and used about 40% of the battery. The next day, I had about the same screen on time, only 6 minutes more, 2 hours and 47 minutes, but only 14 minutes of screen off time, and used about 30% of the battery. So I am getting about 9 hours of screen on time on this device with 14.7. With iOS 15, it seems to be a little bit more for me, or about the same. So in general, it's pretty good battery life. Like I said, it will take a few days to measure that for sure, running 14.7 beta 3. Now, as far as overall performance, we'll take a look at the benchmark scores in just a moment. It seems pretty fast, but I wanted to show you the iPhone 7. This is the jet black iPhone 7, and show you this since I haven't loaded everything since rebooting it. So if we go back to browse, we'll wait for it to load here and see how scrolling is. It seems to be okay. Generally, it will sort of hiccup when going into music and browsing. If we go over to the app library, you'll see it did slow down a little bit. If we go to the names here and scroll through all these games, there's a couple small hiccups there as I'm scrolling, but in general, it's pretty good. It's nice and fast for most things, and overall performance, I wouldn't expect really too much of a difference between the iOS 14.7 betas. So it should be the same or improved from the previous one. Now, as far as iPadOS, well, iPadOS doesn't get any different changes other than the podcast ones I already mentioned. So in general, it's going to be about the same. Performance on the iPad Air 2, which is the oldest supported device, seems to be pretty good. And iOS 15 or iPadOS 15 will be coming to this device as well. So that's great news. So it's nice and fast. Again, going into music, we'll give it just a moment to reload. Go to browse. Again, wait for it to load off the internet here. And you'll see it's a little bit stuttery, not super smooth, but it is the first time it's loading. So it's okay. It's not amazing. And battery life was actually okay on 14.7 with the newer iPad. So it seems to be about the same. However, battery life is great on the iPadOS 15 betas. So that's a good sign that they're improving some of that. Now let's take a look at the benchmark scores. So we'll go over to Geekbench here. Find it, and I ran it just after installing the update. I have 1,595 for single core, 4,196 for multi-core on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. If we take a look at the history and what it scored before, let's see if we can find the date here at the top. Between May 19th and June 14th, you'll see it's a little bit lower for single core and a little bit higher for multi-core. Get that little dust speck off there, and it's a little bit higher for multi-core, so that's a good sign. So it looks like it's doing just fine, and that's right after installing the update and running it. Now, as far as all of these devices, let's go back into Geekbench on all of them that I've run Geekbench on that are running beta 3 here. We'll go to Geekbench, and I'll line them up so you can see what it's like on all of them. And so from the left to right, I have the iPad Air 2, followed by the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Again, this is just to give you a general idea of overall performance when running benchmarks right after installing the update. So if yours are anything like this, it should be about the same, and you know that they're performing like they should be. As far as overall heat of the device, well, it doesn't seem to get very warm. Even after installing the update, it was just barely warm, and after running Geekbench, I normally wait for it to cool down a little bit. After running Geekbench, it's nice and cool as well. Even though it's using processor-intensive applications, it does get a little bit warm, but it's not very hot. So maybe they've fixed some of those issues for those of you that are concerned about it getting extremely warm. Now, as far as should you install iOS 14.7 Beta 3, well, if you're already on 14.7 Beta 1 or Beta 2, then I would say absolutely if you're not going to try out iOS 15, for example. So it seems pretty stable, and of course, you can always report feedback as you're having issues. Make sure you report that to let Apple know what's going on with it, and they can fix that. And again, like I said, we'll see iOS 14.7 updates well into the next few months until they release iOS 15 to the public. Now, as far as iOS 14.7 Beta 4, I would expect it in a week or so, or maybe even a release candidate as we get closer and closer to the final release, which I expect within the next few weeks at this point. However, we never know that for sure. As far as iOS 15 Beta 2, I've got a lot of questions about that today. I would expect that probably next week. Normally, Apple waits about 2 weeks for the first versions of their beta. With Beta 2 or Beta 3, we should see the release of the public beta as well. So we could see that as soon as another week or in a couple weeks for public beta testers. So look for that. And of course, as soon as I know, I'll let you know as well. Now, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.